A key witness in the Diddy trial has gone missing. This is super concerning because she is crucial for the case against one of the biggest names in music. She was actually going under a pseudonym like 3 other witnesses in the case, but she decided to waive that right and reveal her identity in her testimony. But now she's MIA. The federal prosecutors don't know where she is, her lawyers don't know where she is, and the prosecutors are using her testimony in the opening statement on May 12th. That's not that far away. For now, she's known as Victim 3, and she was subpoenaed, which means that she is required to be.
So it turns out that not only was Ally Carter giving us all the tea on what Diddy and his people were doing behind the scenes all these years, but she had actually been subpoenaed and listed as a witness to testify in Diddy's trial. However, just when the trial started, she disappeared and no one, including her family and her lawyers, know where she is. To make matters even worse, a voice note that Ally sent to her close friend was just discovered just the day before the trial, and it contains disturbing information about the woman who was protecting Diddy all this while, and made it possible for him to get away with all his crime, Christina Khorram. Rum Diddy had actually mentioned Christina a couple of times prior to his arrest in his Facebook post from 2021, in which he said, "Meet Christina Khorram, Rum Chief of Staff at Combs Enterprises. Ina aka KK keeps everything in my life and my business running. She's been my right hand for the last 8 years and has consistently proven to execute and get done. Don't know how I'd function without her, but obviously at the time, we didn't know what he was getting up to. So this didn't send off any alarm bells. Christina had been mentioned in multiple essay lawsuits against Diddy as his accomplice, but she remained quiet until a few days ago when she put out this statement that said, "For months, horrific accusations have been made about me in various lawsuits regarding my former boss. These false allegations of my involvement are causing irreparable and incalculable damage to my reputation and the emotional well-being of myself and my family. I have never condoned or aided and abetted the of anyone, nor have I ever dripped anyone. The idea that I could be accused of playing a role in or even being a bystander to the essay of anyone is beyond upsetting, disturbing, and unthinkable. That is not who I am, and my heart goes out to all the victims of sexual assault. I am confident that the allegations against me will be proven to be untrue." No one believed a thing she was saying, and it was for good reason. Because as I said earlier, she hasn't mentioned in more lawsuits than I can talk about in this video. I'm still going to go through some of them with y'all because there is a clear pattern here, and without her, Diddy would have been caught a long time ago. She basically protected him and set the groundwork for him to effortlessly commit the crimes he did without any fear of getting caught. No wonder he said in that Facebook post that he didn't know how he'd function without her. That's how important she was to his operations. Christina was first exposed for her involvement in all this, in Lil Rod's SA lawsuit against Diddy, in which Lil Rod described her as the Ghislaine Maxwell to Diddy. Lil Rod said when Diddy started making intimate advances at him and jing him, he confided in Christina about it because he thought she was one of the good guys. But she said, and I quote, "You know Sean will be Sean," and attempted to downplay Mr. Combs messing as friendly horseplay, stating that those acts were Mr. Combs' way of showing that he likes you. He also said Christina managed all aspects of Diddy's personal life, including paying hired sex workers for him as well, as making all his employees carry a fanny pack filled with different kinds of illicit substances, including GHB. Another lawsuit, Diddy's former senior executive Phil Pines accused Diddy of battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress. And of course, Christina was right there to cover it up like she always does. Phil said he once saw Diddy kick a woman to the ground outside of his house. Diddy told the woman, "I told you I was crazy," before kicking her in the stomach. He then made the poor woman go topless by demanding for her to take off her sweatshirt. This obviously left Phil traumatized because he just saw Diddy basically physically violate this woman and then force her to get naked. But once again, Christina stepped in and instructed him to never speak about it. And there are repercussions that can happen if he did. But this wasn't the only thing Phil claims he saw. He said he saw Christina help Diddy to organize what he calls Wild King Nights. And this party was basically freak-offs that lasted for days on end, with multiple men and women. Christina played a huge role in making these parties happen, starting with the locations to the people who would participate in it. He says after Diddy told Christina that he wanted to have one of these Wild King Nights, sending him on a mad dash to set up hotel rooms with baby oil lube, male libido pills, Plan B candles, mood lighting, and a variety of toys. Christina was also mentioned in a third lawsuit filed by a woman in San Francisco last October, and this was actually the lawsuit that made her finally put out that statement I read to y'all earlier of her denying the allegations. The woman claims she met Diddy through FaceTime back in 2018 when a man she met outside a bar got on FaceTime with him to flex that he knew famous people. However, she wasn't really a fan of Diddy and made a comment during the call about Diddy being behind Tupac's death, to which he overheard and angrily told her she would pay for saying that to him. Fast forward to a few days later, the man she met at the club set her up by inviting her over to his house to help with his cancer medication. So she went over, and that's when Diddy and Christina, along with his entourage, trapped her and did some disturbing things to her. Diddy then held a knife to her face and threatened to give her a Glasgow smile. And for those of y'all who don't know what that is, it's a large cut to both sides of the mouth. She said Diddy set her with a TV remote, then directed another man who he was with to also essay her, while he watched and pleasured himself. He also made 4 other of his people essay her, and this whole time, Christina watched and waited for them to finish so she could clean it up. Once they were done, Christina gave her an unknown pill to swallow, and they continued to essay her again. She managed to escape at some point during the essay and ran out of the house and started screaming for help, which prompted one of their neighbors to let her into their house and to call the police.
She was able to escape eventually and ran out into the streets yelling and screaming, and a neighbor heard her because this happened in a quiet suburban neighborhood.
So there's a witness?
Yes, we have a witness because as she's running out the house yelling, a neighbor saw.
However, even after making the police report, the police didn't do anything about it, and that's because Diddy had obviously paid them off. This was something he did to a lot of his victims, and that's why it took someone as famous as Cassie to file a lawsuit before he was finally incriminated. Fast forward to this year, another essay lawsuit popped out, and it also involved Christina. This lawsuit was by an up-and-coming artist called Seven Guzzle, and she claims she was supposed to be under a mentorship with Diddy, but he spent the entire time saying her. The suit read during the first instance of Combs forcibly compelled plaintiff to perform oral before her. This occurred without her consent, and despite her explicit refusal to engage in any acts with him, the lawsuit states, and now while all this was going on, a name that's kept being brought up was Ali Carter because she's been spilling the tea about Diddy's behavior for a while, and everything she has accused him of is what these people are also accusing him of. However, Ali recently disappeared, and it's now being alleged that she was set to testify as a witness in Debbie's trial. Just a few days prior to this, Ali went on live, frantically crying to tell people that she was scared for her life and for her family's life because some armed men who were hired to unalive her broke into her house and turned the whole place upside down. She even went as far as name-dropping some of the people who she believed were behind the attack, and according to her, these people leaked her address and paid goons to come after her.
You get pressured, attacked, stalked, and hunted down for your own information. You get abused and re-victimized again by people who wanted to argue a back and forth this week like that fucking mattered. Okay, you had Stu Peters and Timothy Charles Homestead going back and forth, and nobody has even bothered. Not that I give a damn, and not that I understand that you guys are gonna be that selfish, but nobody has bothered to apologize for all the hell that has happened. But you guys were arguing back and forth, and in that meantime, we lost our home. You don't believe me? Here you go. What once was a full house, we were still paying rent on our house. What we were doing this whole time was moving everything because our house is gone. Our house is gone. This is the speaking out. What was our beautiful 3-bedroom acre home on 21225 Standing Rock Avenue, because everybody has the address, because organizations that were attached to Marx, Sawyer, and many other organizations decided to put out the address, my license plate to one of my cars, and many other. So here you go. You can have it, right? Because this is what happens when you speak out. This is what happens when you tell all the truth. This is what happens when you decided to stand up for the children, and when you understand that survivors don't just get to do a seminar, and when you understand that survivors don't just get to just be and then show up somewhere and talk and monetize everything that they're saying. When you realize that that's bullshit, then you will understand. Look at the tactics and pay attention. Pay attention. I'm still not asking you for a damn thing but to wake up. I'm not asking you for a damn thing but just to get outside. I don't give a damn about money, numbers on my platforms. You can have all of it. You took everything. The only thing that I give a shit about right now is the fact that there is a baby in the way. There's babies in the way. There are people that I love that I can't get out of the way. What am I supposed to do when the people in the authority that you're supposed to go to, you can't go to?